listening to Coffee and Conversation with Recovery Advocate Network, the nonprofit organization that strives to address the staggering disparity in resource availability for individuals suffering from mental health disorders, processing disorders, addictions, trauma healing, and sexual identity challenges. Together, we strive to end the stigma associated with these challenges so that true healing can begin. Welcome back to Coffee and Conversation with Recovery Advocate Network. I'm your host, and I welcome you to episode number 85. Today's guest is Amity Cooper, a seasoned entrepreneur, a trained mental health professional, and an entrepreneurial coach. With a wealth of experience from developing and launching multiple businesses over the past 20 years, she is now dedicated to helping others start and run their businesses. She aims to empower mental and behavioral health professionals as a trained therapist, equine-assisted psychotherapist, and Lifebook facilitator. She focuses on preventing burnout and fostering professional growth, a concept she terms therapreneurs. Through her professional development company, Clinical Career Collective, and Do This First 7-day Bootcamp, she provides the tools and knowledge to run businesses effectively and embrace new emerging technology in this post-pandemic world, inspiring and motivating therapreneurs to better serve their clients. What do we talk about? Well, we cover technology, entrepreneurship, mental health, and conflict resolution. We delve into her journey from designer handbags and gourmet chocolate to becoming a therapreneur and a Clinical Career Collective founder. The discussion also explores the concept of conflict resolution and the importance of understanding humans as humans, my favorite phrase. Amity discusses the need for business education in the mental health field and the creation of C3 to address this gap. She also delves into the Lifebook program and the importance of addressing all 12 life domains for personal well-being. Her conversation explores the challenges of entrepreneurship, the impact of personal values, and the significance of community support. Amity shares her approach to working with therapreneurs and the launch of the online course called Do This First to support mental health practitioners in building successful practices. Okay, let's do this. But first, we know it's our 3 C's of engagement. What are they? Well, the first one is to click that like, love, follow, subscribe, and share button. Trust me, you won't want to miss future episodes, and you never know who you may share this with who really needed to hear it today. So go ahead and do it. And while you're clicking, click on the link for the website, which is www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org. And in the top right corner, click the donate button. 100% of the funds go to help individuals in treatment who need help for bridge grants. So take a moment, like every little bit counts, like $5. I don't know. Take a moment and go ahead and do it. Okay. Second, commit to staying for the full episode. You do not want to miss her favorite quote at the end. Come on, you don't. So stay for the full episode. And then what is our last C? Well, of course, it is our coffee. So fill up your coffee, sit back, relax, and let's get started. Stoked about today's interview. We have this Saturday morning, and I am interviewing Amity. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Yes,
I didn't.
You did.
I did. Yes.
You did.
Yes.
You
the
totally
listeners
did.
The listeners know that I try to be super passionate about this, and every once in a while I forget to do something like ask how to pronounce someone's name, which is so important. The name is the first thing that was given to them as a gift. So I have Amity here with me today. She is a seasoned entrepreneur, a trained mental health professional, and an entrepreneurial coach. And we have so many topics we could talk about today. I cannot wait to dig in. So now what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to stop talking. And Amity, if you will kick us off, tell us about yourself and why you're here today.
Oh gosh, Angela, thank you so much for having me on your show. I love the concept of having just a Saturday chat and along with coffee because coffee is my favorite elixir of life. So it's it's wonderful to be here. So thank you. Um, so I have a lot of different passions that sort of coalesce and come together around mental health awareness and advocacy and just living your best life. And I do that in a multiple ways. So as you mentioned, I have a clinical therapy practice. I'm a trained equine therapist. So for me, I find just wonderful connection being outside with my horse companions and nature and other people. And then I also run a professional development company called Clinical Career Collective because my passion really evolves around helping other clinicians get out there and serve wide by being able to open up their clinical private practices and just we have a mental health crisis that we need to solve and that only gets solved when there's more of us to go around. So that's a big source of my energy and passion of where I focus my attention. And then I'm just trying to think about whatever else that kind of comes to mind. But I love working with people who are driven to succeed. I love working with innovators, entrepreneurs, and everybody else who is trying to make a difference in the world. So that is my focus in a nutshell.
That is amazing. So first I want to know, Amity, is how did you go from designer handbags and gourmet chocolate, which I was reading that and I thought, does she have my mailing address? Because I didn't get a a chocolate package. So I just throwing that out there. Okay. But designer handbags and gourmet chocolate. And to now
Yeah.
you have coined, I think the phrase of therapreneur. Is that how you
Yes.
pronounce it? Therapreneur, I
Yeah.
guess, right?
Yeah.
So what did that journey look like? What life events or, how did you make those pivots? Because as you can imagine, they're quite different, which I love. I mean, look, I'm a
Yeah.
biomedical engineer. I live to wood turn, blacksmith, and also run a mental health nonprofit. So I love this. And whenever I see
Yeah.
individuals that are that diverse, I can't wait to dig in.
Oh, wow. Well, as our life path is not a straight line. And I think I had always been interested. Well, I think primarily I'm a creative person. I'm a creative soul and spirit. And I was always tinkering around with different ideas and very entrepreneurial from very early on. And so when I sort of completed my first master's degree in conflict resolution, I was sort of dipping my toe into the therapeutic space, but I wasn't quite ready to sort of really dig deep into what this life would be like. I had other things that I wanted to get done, and it happened to be handbags at the time. So I spent about 15 years kind of experimenting and going through and following these passions that I had about creating. And it's like I came up, I'm the gal that has like notebooks full of different ideas and I keep track of them. And then and it's a game that I play with myself of like, how many good ideas can I come up with in a day? And then I catalog them but something will spark an interest and then I just go for it. So that's really what happened for me. I spent 15 years following that charm, following that little wisp of information. And it was awesome. It informed so much about my life, about, how to take a concept to market and just learning the ups and downs and the process of figuring all this stuff out. And I got better at tech as tech got better. I really sort of, practiced what I have been preaching now of just how to open and launch a business. I think business is the graduate degree of life and learning how to bring your vision to life in a systematic way. Business allows you to explore that, having your own business, being entrepreneurial. I think it really aligns with a lot of other people out there who are just trying to figure out what their path is. So that was mine.
I had no idea there was a master's in conflict resolution. I love conflict resolution. I was just talking with a friend of mine recently, and he and I were just saying we love those hard conversations. And I totally know so many individuals who are like fearful. I don't want to have any hard conversations. So I'll just appease you. My life
Yeah.
is so much better, not because of the easy conversations I've had in life. My life is so much better because of the hard conversations and journeys I've walked through in my life. And those individuals I've had those with are some of my closest confidants, mentors, friends, colleagues, all of that. So I just love the idea of masters in conflict resolution. That is amazing. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it was thrilling for me. I really enjoyed it. And
what led you to decide that's what you were going to do?
again, like I think in reference back to, like, I knew that the world of psychology, I knew that being knee to knee with somebody in a very intimate way, there were signs all along the path that said, this is really like where you are going to end up. This is where you're going to be. And I think going back and sort of pursuing this and doing a deep dive into the process of communication, um, gave me some insight into it, but I truly wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared enough. I wasn't ready to be vulnerable enough, um, to take that next step into counseling or other work. And so it was a stepping stone for me, and I loved it because it just really, I could take all those skills that I was learning about how to tactical empathy, how to listen, how to get to yes, how to come to a better understanding of somebody else's situation. It prepared me so well for the life of business and entrepreneurship. You have to develop thick skin, and you have to learn how to manage those ups and downs, because your life is, you can only control so much, and that is something that actually training in conflict resolution really taught me. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I think the more I realized in my life that I have my locus of control, and it's a healthy journey to sit down in situations and think, okay, wait, let me just pause for a moment. Let me look at what's happening, look at all the individuals. I'm also really passionate about seeing humans as humans. And I think when we start doing that and we enter that idea into conflict resolution, then we stop thinking, oh, this person was being a jerk. Well, no, maybe that person, their filter, maybe they, got, I don't know, maybe they got into an argument with their spouse this morning, maybe they got some horrible news. Maybe they have a sick parent. Maybe they have some of those things, right? So understanding humans as humans has been a great thing. And then just really being able for conflicts to pause and say, okay, what do I have control over? What's in my locus of control and what's not? And then breathe out the knots, because breathing out the knots, it's just reduced my level of stress and has
Oh
given me
yeah.
that ability to say, okay,
Yeah.
let's dig into this together, human to human, as you said, knee to knee. I love that.
Yeah.
And figure out what success looks like. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay,
Just
so
just a
you did
conversation.
that.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Coffee and a conversation. Or here's a sneak peek. I actually have Coke Zero in my coffee mug. So that you know.
Oh, it tastes so
Every
good.
once in a while, every once in a while, that's what I share. I need to have honey in it since I'm still sick and my voice is still off. But okay, so looking at, first off, I want to know, what is a life book facilitator? I've never heard that phrase before, so I want to hear about that.
Yes.
And then I would
Yeah.
love for you to dig through the Clinical Career Collective.
Okay. I think I'm going to pick up here on C3, Clinical Career Collective, first, because I think
Perfect.
it really ties in to our professional journey in life. If I look at back on my experiences, each experience informed my next step that I was going to take. So I needed to go back and I needed to get the training, the experience, the practice in working with people. Okay. I knew that ultimately all of my side ventures of learning the structure, the biology of business. Okay. That was what I got in my experience and my training. It was sweat equity really in building up my acumen to to run a business, right? And then I had to go back and I had to get the actual clinical training. So I'm a mediator and I'm a mental health counselor. And so when I entered the field of mental health, I had all of this experience, background information to inform me. And I realized, and I looked around the landscape of my clinical institution and training, and I saw my colleagues just up in arms, beside themselves, because they weren't given the tools. They were taught to be great clinicians. They knew how to be with people and they understood every type of intervention known to man, right? But when it came to the idea of actually operating and owning their own future in a private practice or a group practice, or however you wanted to show up and express your gifts here, they had no clue and they were a deer in headlights. And it was so astounding to me that we could be some of the top trained and like credentialed professionals in the workforce here, but we are chronically underpaid and undervalued and overworked and burnt out. And it just didn't line up for me. It didn't make sense. And so I created C3 for this very purpose, to really sort of bring to light here that there are some glaring gaps between our education and our output, like our input and our output. And how can I help sort of shore up this industry? I want to change the industry to embrace business as not the pariah. You are not taking advantage of people. You are serving people. And business is truly the best way to be in service. And so C3 was really formed out of that need and desire to help my other friends and colleagues figure out how to create a life and business for themselves. So, so from that, I think it really informs and has informed me on, like, everybody's trying to find their own way, their own path of showing their and sharing their light here. And the Lifebook program, which is a program that was designed by a couple, Missy and John Butcher, and it was his life journey of struggles that deep struggles and anxiety and life management. A very, very successful repeat entrepreneur himself, created multiple businesses that were very, very successful, but he himself was sort of falling apart inside. And I think that if we were to really dig in deeper to the life of an entrepreneur, the life of somebody, a trailblazer, we have this sort of imbalance between our public persona and our private persona. And we generally in life focus on maybe 4 areas of focus. It's usually our career, our finances, in general, our relationships, but and just sort of like, I want to be successful, right? So there is this classic imbalance. But the reality is that we are a very multifaceted individual, and we actually have 12 life domains that really need to be examined and addressed in order to keep that engine running smoothly and in accordance with our own values and rules of life. And that ranges from our health and fitness, and we can go back to talk about like how much, we were talking earlier about, like,
Yes.
okay, our health and our fitness, this is our foundation to functioning, right? We have our spiritual life. What is our character? What is our, how do we, what is our relationships, not only with our partner or our spouse, but our children and our parents. We're looking at all these facets that across the life spectrum. And the life book, according to John's own journey, sort of map this out for us to follow. It's like a Socratic open system that you can input all your values, your beliefs, and your vision, your purpose, and your strategy into this physical document that is essentially your life book. It's your life manifesto that you can set the rules of the road to. According to your rules, you follow it, and it's not relying on what anybody else says. It's all about you.
I love that. So I have a couple of thoughts. One, tying back to therapy burnout, we talked about that on episode 8. I believe which is living beyond mental illness and therapy burnout with Janine. So we're on this will be episode 85. So it's funny to think back to episode 8. But yeah, it was really important. And I was just having a conversation with my boss. I'm COO of a software company in Atlanta, report to the CEO. He and I were talking about, okay, when this company is successful, what are we going to do next? And everyone knows I want to do keynote speaking, coaching, working on helping companies build solid, robust teams. Building amazing teams and amazing customer experience engines is my passion. It is like what sparks me. And so we're talking about how we really want to mentor more and more of these startups that have brilliant founders, but they have no idea, like, hey, you need to actually write a employee agreement that's going to stand up, and it needs to be consistent across all of your employees. You need to make sure you don't have all these discrepancies. You need to make sure you document some of these things. You need to make sure you're thinking about communication with your team members and all this kind of stuff, right? The things that after we've built a couple of businesses and we've screwed up some stuff, but, because I just think for some reason, there's this mentality that someone gets a degree in something or they're brilliant and decide to start one thing and they automatically know how to do all the things that associate with it to make it a success.
Yes.
And that's insane. I mean,
it is.
But we believe that, and that's the case. And so individuals who are willing to step in and say, okay, here are some guardrails you need to put up. Here are some things. Let's sit down and map out a couple of things to plan ahead for that burnout so it doesn't. So Amity and I were talking about me moving from California to Atlanta, and I've really been sick most of the time I've been in Atlanta. And I've had conversations with my therapist about it because I am going to go to the doctor and get all this stuff done. But I said to him, it's got to be my thyroid. And he laughed because he's like, you're living like the lives of 3 people and you're tired and you want to just assume it's your thyroid. And I was like, oh, of course, because I'm Wonder Woman and I can do all of this. But it is hard. I mean, I was having another conversation about, most people don't believe this, but I really am an introvert. Like the difference between an introvert and an extrovert is where do you get your energy, right? And when I do things very externally, which I do a lot being a CEO of RAN and a COO of Atos, then I need more time to regain my energy that isn't in that realm. And that's such a hard balance and such a struggle. And I love you sitting down with people and saying, okay, let's pause. Let's look at every single aspect, things that we're not going to think about on our own because we're just going to go day by day by day by day. And,
Yeah, we're on this treadmill of it is sort of it's our society, it's our culture, right? We're highly driven. We're very focused on purpose and accomplishments, and finding and sort of stepping back and taking a pause and doing an inventory and an assessment of one's first principles, if you will. Like, what are your foundational what's your personal philosophy that really is your cornerstone to building your entire life off of? It's amazing how this isn't addressed more deeply and more with curiosity and interest, because we're always driven by, I wouldn't say always, I think that is extreme, but the consensus is that we receive external information which informs and drives our internal desires, okay? I want to flip that around. And I think by what John and his wife Missy have created in this Lifebook system is that that's really a false narrative for us. And is that, I'm sorry, do you hear that?
I do. It's on your end. Okay, listeners.
Oh my
we
gosh,
have,
so sorry.
It's an alarm. I love this. Okay, this is what I love because I'm not cutting this out. I'm not cutting this out because this is what I love is that Amity and I are both tech nerds and like complete tech geeks. And we're like, wait, where's that ringing sound come from? Maybe it's a word of wisdom from the future of the past.
I was like, where is this doorbell coming from? So this is, I have a 92-year-old mother, and I'm moving her from an iPhone system to this jitterbug system, which is supposed to be easier. And I've been trying to work with them anyway. So this is the phone ringing. I swear to God, it's not my phone. It's my mommy's phone. And I
love it.
I'm so sorry, but there you go. This is my life.
There you go. This is life in real life. So, I was just having this conversation with one of my team members because I started this program years ago. It's called 5 Resume Bullet Points. It's real, and it's supposed to be thinking about professionally and personally, where do you really want to go? And what skills do you need to accomplish to reach there? And so some could be very tied to work. Like I really want to be a senior project manager, or I really want to eventually get into, and so I encourage them, okay, so do some research on other individuals who are in those roles, look and see what skills they have. And sometimes you'll do that and you'll realize, wait, I don't want to do all of these things they have listed as bullets on their LinkedIn. and it's great to understand that because then you can pivot into something else, right? But then we can say, okay, let's document some of those, work on them, and then, push them and move forward. And it can also be, and should also be, personal things, such as maybe I want to improve my public speaking, so I'm going to take a Toastmasters class. And so then we had these conversations of how do you choose what you do and what you don't do? And when you're overwhelmed with a whole bunch of stuff, what do you do? And I said, well, one thing is to pause, and you really have to have developed whatever your personal core values are. So it's very similar to this. It didn't have that level of expertise like you do. So this is my raw life experience telling her this. So, what are and I said your 5 core values, and then what does success look like for you? So one of my team members at work said, they were talking about doing C-suite bingo. And so that when we in the C-suite, because we have our same things we say all the time, they're going to have little cards. And one day random in a meeting, someone's going to yell out bingo. And they're going to be like, Ange said this and Connor said this. And it's all of our common phrases that we say. And I can't wait for this moment to happen.
Yeah.
But yesterday, one of my team members said, okay, I'm putting on Angela's list, what does success look like? And I said, I love that you said that, because you know what? If you wake up 20 years from now and think, what does success look like for me? Because that's different, right? It's not, everyone's view of success is going to be different. And we try, and sometimes we're tied. Yeah. And we're tied to what society's view of success is. I don't really give a flip what society thinks I'm successful or not. Right. And so what does success look like for you as a human being? And in this stage of my life and in the future, and kind of working through those as a base. And I said, maybe pause and say, okay, does this align with my core values of who I am as a human? Does this align with my view of what success looks like? And if so, then dig in deeper and figure out how to make it happen. If not, then this is an opportunity to say, whoa, I don't need to do that. It's probably a great opportunity.
The train. You get off at the train. And you start realizing that maybe you have been a passenger for a very long time. And usually these questions about purpose, meaning, how do I show up in the world, come around generally in midlife, okay? But we're finding because we live longer, these experiences tend to happen earlier. So what we're seeing is, as technology and everything sort of merges, and we're in this. So I'm going sort of a broad brushstroke here, but we're in this fourth uh, industrial revolution period. Okay, so we have incredible technology, exponential technologies that are speeding ahead and causing and creating great change and innovation. But we're, as a species, we are slower to adapt and to adjust. And so there's this huge looming gap here. So the idea of figuring out, like, we used to be able to be just told, like, this is your job, this is where you fit. You had funnels about where you performed. And now we have all of this incredible opportunity and options to be something that maybe hasn't even been developed yet. And it's really putting an incredible amount of pressure on us. It's decision overwhelm. It's like, how do we get to this spot? So the best way is getting back to the basics, and it's figuring out what our strengths are, what our dreams are, how we apply our basic gifts to the world, where they fit. But we can life design ourselves into the ideal vision and life that we hold for ourselves. And it's not letting, again, society dictate how we show up, but we're setting the course. We're in the driver's seat of the bus, the train, whatever it may be. We're not in the passenger side anymore, and we're definitely not in the back seat. And so it's risky. It's risky to be different. It's risky to say and literally lead with personal intention. You don't want to be rejected by society, but here is this incredible opportunity to really do something great. And we have the power to do it. And we have all of the support systems and tools to make that happen, to really do a deep dive into our lives.
Yeah, that is spot on. In my younger days, I recently had someone say to me, he met a female executive at a large company. She's the CEO of a very large company, and she's amazing, and she has a lot of energy. And he comes up to me, he's like, "Oh yeah, I need to introduce you to her. She needs to be your mentor. So when you're in that phase," I was like, "Whoa, wait." um,
Wow.
I don't want to be the CEO of a large company. That's not on my goal list.
Yeah.
So I would love to, and he was so taken back. And I said, I would love to meet her and work with her, and maybe we become friends, and maybe she's a mentor to me and vice versa. I would love that. But to be super clear, that is not in my life goal. And I remember that moment. He was so shocked that I said that. He's much younger than me. And I thought, you know what? I'm not surprised he's shocked, because when I was younger, I never would have had the courage to say that. I never would have been able to say, whoa, 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 that's not my vision of success. I know where I want to go next, and that is not it. I probably would have, not probably, I know the previous and the previous and would have set that as her new goal in life, despite
Yeah.
the fact that she didn't want it, because somebody else seemed passionate that she could do it. And I like to be able to prove that I can do anything. So wait, they put this in. The old and totally would have grabbed onto that and then driven in this path that wasn't what I wanted at all. And so
Yeah.
working with
And you also
smart people
needed to
like
go
you.
through, yeah, and I totally hear that. And I think that probably your 20 something year old self was listening to this, and here is a person of authority, let's say authority, like somebody
Yes.
who's saying, well, don't you want this? Because you're already drinking the Kool-Aid on, this sort of lifestyle or whatever. And you want to be recognized. You want to be seen. It's important. I mean, it's a natural human instinct to want to belong. And so this idea that somebody would recognize, oh, you mean I have potential? It's natural, it's normal. But then when you start to flush that out and you have more experiences and you start to question what your next steps are along your career trajectory, whatever that may be, those things start to, you start to weigh those out and you figure that out. But you need that experience, and it's so normal, right? I mean, of course,
Absolutely,
you're the
without a doubt, without a doubt. I'm grateful, and also I think, I grew up with a very abusive childhood, and so I also was overcoming this, you always being appeared as kind of like the black sheep when I was growing up and stuff. And it's kind of funny because I'm nowhere near a black sheep, but that was the way that I was interpreting the world. And so I really wanted to be good enough constantly and for people to think I was good enough constantly, because I had this idea. I knew I could do things, but I didn't think other people knew I could do it. So I felt as if I needed to constantly prove to all of these people that I can do all the things, right?
yeah.
and then they'll get
Hmm.
it that I can do it, right? It wasn't until in my 40s when I said, whoa, wait, I don't need to prove to all of these people I can do the
Yeah.
things. I'm just going to
Yeah.
do the things. And, but so I like the journey of it. And it ties to, we were talking about earlier about getting to humans as humans. It also talks to, as we work with different individuals, understanding where do some of those beliefs come from, and which
Yes.
are ones you really want to hold to because they are part of who you are as a self, and which are ones that, like, no, that belief is
Doesn't
a
serve
false
me.
belief that
Yeah, doesn't serve
exactly.
me. Or what really am I going to take with me? What sort of, uh, I'm thinking of a blanket, like you're building a quilt of your life. Like, what are you going to surround and wrap yourself in that identifies who you are? And that is the, it's a double-edged sword. That is the quest, and it's also the vision that drives you forward, right? It is the hurdles, it is the hero's journey that we're walking along, and we have to figure out what we're taking with us and what we want to leave behind because it's unnecessary at some point.
Love, 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 love. Okay, so tell me, how do you work with the therapreneurs? What does
Yeah,
that look
yeah.
like? So you see me saying, did I say that right? I'm pretty sure I said that
Yeah,
right.
you
Okay.
did. You did.
How do you work?
So I
Yes,
was playing
nailed
around
it.
with, yes, yes, you did. So I was playing around with this idea of of merging, of mashing up different ideas of being a therapist and an entrepreneur. So the therapreneur sort of melded together, and I think it's quite cute. But anyway,
I do.
um, so what I have done, because uh, I know this about myself. I don't like doing things on a small scale. I like to always think big. And the best way that I felt that I could reach the most people was to create an online course that would actually provide or be a kickstart for these individuals who are, maybe they're just coming out of grad school and they're trying to figure out what their next steps are going to be, or maybe they're a seasoned um, mental health practitioner already, but maybe they're working for somebody else and they're sort of thinking about starting off on their own, or maybe they're already in private practice and they know that their systems or their tools could be improved, but they just don't really have the information and the resources out there. So this course called Do This First is really the stepping stone to launching yourself, as taking yourself from a clinician to a professional. And you do that over a course of 7 days. And I literally walk you through about the nuts and bolts. And like I mentioned earlier, it's like the biology of business. Business is not rocket science. There's fundamental truths to it, and what its purpose is, how it's designed is to actually be self-perpetuating, right? And you're producing a product or a service that people want for a price that's affordable, and that's an agreed upon arrangement, so that they are getting, it's an exchange, a bartership, an exchange of energy or services, so that it propels them forward and keeps you in business, keeps you motivated. So by breaking things down to the simple fundamentals of how this functions and what the role is of you as a business owner, as a therapist, I provide those support tools and resources. So I think what differentiates this kind of course from maybe other e-courses out there is that I'm really starting at home base here. And by figuring out and working backwards of figuring out what your sweet spot is, about who your clients are, who you want to serve, what's the business structure that you're going to need to support that vision, along with how to set up and operate in this 21st century with technology running all of our lives. How do we incorporate that into our practices? Because the truth of the matter is that our clients are using these technologies every single day, and our industry typically is very afraid and fearful of using and utilizing these tools, for fear of like losing our jobs. And I'm going on a diatribe here, but like losing our jobs or being made antiquated in our services. That's a looming factor here. And so I want to dispel all of those false beliefs, urban legends of what we see and how our practices are going to be reshaped or for the future. And so it's all incorporated and brought into my class.
That is awesome. And is the class intended to be, so first off, you may have already said this, but is it a virtual class or in person? That's the first question. Second question is it intended to be one-on-one with that individual or that individual and their team? What does that kind of structure look like?
Yes.
So format and structure.
Yes. Okay. So the way I've designed this is that I wanted it, I'm launching with this idea of ultimately an evergreen course. So it is virtual, and it would run on a monthly basis. So every month, the last week of every month, you can literally sign up for Do This First. So it propels you into the next month to just run with your concept and your plan, because you have all the foundational paperwork and like a one-page business plan in place to just go for it. But I realize I don't want to provide all this information and then like dump and run. So this idea that I would, my hope is that I'm creating a community of like-minded individuals looking for the peer support and almost like a mastermind of this. And so that all graduates who go through this program can come back, and I will continue to offer coaching services and support to these individuals as they continue to build and expand their practices. So we learn from one another, and we need that, and we need that community, because that doesn't, right now, I don't see that elsewhere. So that is the ultimate vision and plan.
Well, and that's brilliant, because I know when I'm in a community of individuals who are trying to do similar things, and they're different because they're human beings, then
Right.
when they say something, it will trigger a thought in me, and I will say, wow, I never thought about that. And sometimes it's wow, I never thought about that. I really want to dig into that idea or that concept. Sometimes it's wow, I never thought about that, and I don't want to go down that road at all. And
Yes.
sometimes I'm like,
Yes.
okay, that's cool, right? So I feel like it's always a net positive when I'm in a solid community, because I can find different snippets in all of those areas. And I also have to catch myself, because one of my favorite phrases is everything you say yes to means you're saying no to something else. So choose your yeses wisely. So I
Yes.
try and choose the communities that I join that are very mission focused on the areas that are part of my yes. They're part of what my success looks like, so that I know that time spent is kind of like doing research, or it's almost like getting a master's degree in life from other
Yeah.
human beings who are walking similar paths, yet with a different set of feet.
Yes. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I love that. I love that. And it's true. Everything we do, um, are choices. They're choices that we make, and we want to make sure that that bucket is full of all that positivity and support, because it's advancing us forward. And we want to be with a team of people that are in that same bucket, same pond. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. I love the way that's funny. I I'm really proud of myself because I feel like that the way I set this up is something I kept thinking about all of the friends of mine that didn't have this when they finished school, and I feel like I really have created something that is a positive, it will have a positive effect and influence on our future colleagues. And we have a huge we have a huge task ahead of us. I mean, our mental health crisis is just forever growing, and it just seems looming, and it can be very discouraging. But I feel that if we can make we can make a difference with one clinician at a time, it really could change the course of history here. And yeah, I feel really empowered. I know I'm on the right path, and I'm by bringing this service forward to other people to take advantage of. So it feels really good.
Well, and one of the things I heard from you, a piece of success is if you can help one therapist, right? And the thing I think about is I'm passionate about the idea of the butterfly effect, right? And my
Yeah.
thought when I'm working with individuals is I'm one person. However, if I help build somebody else to be a solid, strong leader, like a real leader, not a fake one, a solid, strong leader, and then
Yeah.
they then make the lives of their teams so much better. They make the lives of their teams, spouses, and significant others so much better. They grow stronger companies, right? That adds benefit. And then my goal is to teach leaders how to create new leaders, right? So that little thing is, it may just be a spark in this one, but by building and conveying these tools that you're giving to them as gifts, then they're taking that and spreading it to larger audience, and that larger audience, and the impact of that, of, like we say, the butterfly effect, how that cascade
It's
will just roll
exponential.
into. It's so
Yeah.
exponential. It's so exponential. And so many people, I think, oh, I wish the world would do this, or I wish people would do this, or I wish managers would stop being horrible bosses and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, well, maybe if each of us, instead of wishing some of those things, would pick out a couple of them and dig in and help others learn how to do that as well, I think, which I love
Yeah.
that in your mind is, hey, if I help one therapist or therapy group, and I just like take that as a little circle. Okay, you help that one person, but it's never just that one person, because all of their clients are going to benefit, which means all of their clients' significant others are going to benefit. All of your clients are going to do better at work. That's going to impact their relationships with their colleagues, right? So it's the really the impact of it is so powerful and life changing for
It is.
people who will
It
never
is.
even know that Amity exists. They never know, but they've
Yeah.
been blessed by your gifts that you've shared with others.
Well, thank you. I mean, that is, it is, I get excited to wake up every day for the things that I'm about to embark on and that I'm about to do. And it does propel me forward, and it feels like, gosh, this is the thrill for therapists. I mean, we love being up close and intimate with other people. We love seeing the progress, the growth, the change, the recovery, whatever it may be. And if I think that there's a lot of us, I think I heard some staggering statistics recently that individuals who go through a master's level training program, only 42, almost half of them never go on to get licensed or credentialed or practice. That they go through
Wow.
all of this work, and that's a whole other topic of discussion, truly. But
Right.
to go through this journey, right, and to never follow through with it and to never work in the field, it gives me pause. And I'm like, well, no wonder. We're short 1 million clinicians across the country. There just aren't enough of us to go around. And people are struggling. They're just struggling. So there is this huge disconnect. And it is one person at a time. The collective moves much more slowly than the individual does. We can leapfrog things in our own world, in our own circumference of influence here. So why not take advantage of that? Why not do that? I mean, I guess that's my call out to people. What is holding you back from really doing and giving and being your very, very best? If you can solve these huge problems, what's holding you back?
Yeah. Jump in. The water feels great, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
jump in. Okay.
Yeah.
Amity, is there anything that you really hoped we would cover today that we haven't talked about yet?
We went all over the place today.
We did. I told you I would. That's the great thing about
No,
coffee and
I love
conversation.
that.
We can be
I
in
love
there.
that. I love that. No, I can't really think of anything specific that I feel like we needed to do more of a deep dive in. So no, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good about this
Well, I
conversation.
love to hear that. Okay, so a requirement of this podcast is you have to share one of your favorite motivational quotes. I know you, like myself, have many favorite motivational quotes, but I also know you selected one to highlight for today. So you want to go ahead and share it with the listeners?
Yes. So I think it really ties back into this underlying drive of figuring out what makes you you and what is your call to purpose. So this is from Carl Jung. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate.
Love it. That is so powerful. That's so powerful. Well, this has been amazing to talk with you on this Saturday morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today with your coffee and conversation. We hope you've been encouraged and learned something from today's story. To learn more about today's guest, please check out our show notes for more details. Now it's time to remember to like this episode, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to ensure you do not miss future episodes. Recovery Advocate Network envisions a world where individuals with mental health challenges receive comprehensive and effective treatment without the worry of financial burdens to themselves or their families, all without the stigmas often present in society. We are proud that every individual working with RAN does so on a 100% volunteer basis. You can support the mission by making a financial donation via PayPal or Venmo, or email donate@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org if you would like to donate items for our next fundraising auction. Please visit our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org to learn more. Now, stay in the loop about upcoming events, future episodes, and more by following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, TikTok, LinkedIn, and all major podcast platforms. As a reminder, the experiences and advice expressed in this episode are the host and guest's own personal stories and do not represent the opinions of any organization mentioned. RAN is passionate about opening the doors for all voices and experiences, not just those expressed in any particular podcast. If you want to share your experiences or expertise, we encourage you to be a future guest by emailing us at podcast@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org or submit a blog by emailing blog@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org. We also encourage you to comment on the episode so that we can continue to provide content that is most beneficial to the community. How do you do that? Visit our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org, and in the top right corner, click that comment button and comment. So listeners, what do you need to do? Pause what you're doing, subscribe, follow us. Please give us a like and a 5-star rating, write some meaningful comments, and most importantly, share these episodes with your friends. You never know whose heart you will touch, so please be a part of a reason someone has new hope today. If this episode was triggering to you, we encourage you to contact your support system, therapist, national and community support groups, the Global Crisis Text Line by texting 741-741, and/or if in the U.S., dialing 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you're in the U.S. and need additional resources such as shelter, support group resources, transportation, food, and/or a safe, confidential path out of physical or emotional domestic abuse, please call 211 or visit www.211info.org for assistance. Now, we know you are very busy, and we are grateful that you said yes to sharing time with us today. If you stuck to our 3 C's of engagement and listened to the full episode, then visit the podcast section of our website and leave the comment about the podcast, and you'll be entered to win an autographed copy of one of the books from one of our book club series, as well as a Coffee and Conversation coffee mug. So thanks again. Until next time, back to your coffee.